The decline of rock and the rise of hip-hop, a cultural evolution. Rock once ruled the airwaves, a symbol of rebellion, youth, and raw energy. But not anymore. What happened? The shifting tides of musical dominance, from rock's reign to hip-hop's current supremacy, reflect broader cultural and artistic transformations. Rock, once the heartbeat of rebellion and youth culture, gradually receded into niche status as hip-hop ascended, driven by authenticity, innovation, and resonance with new generations. By the 1990s, rock had lost much of its visceral power. Earlier decades saw rock thrive on raw energy and countercultural defiance, but commercialization diluted its spirit. Record labels prioritized formulaic sounds and marketable aesthetics, leading to homogenized production and a focus on image over substance. New artists faced an uphill battle against the mythic status of predecessors like Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones, stifling fresh innovation. The 1980s exemplified this creative stagnation. Glam metal bands like Mötley Crüe leaned into hedonistic theatrics, leather, makeup, and rebellious personas, but their music often recycled blues rock tropes with little originality. While they embodied teenage fantasies of excess, their work lacked the urgency that once defined rock. By the end of the 1990s, the genre struggled to reclaim its identity, caught between nostalgia and half-hearted experimentation. As rock faltered, hip-hop seized its mantle of rebellion. Emerging from black communities, the genre channeled raw storytelling, social critique, and unfiltered emotion. Gangsta rap, in particular, offered a gritty realism that contrasted sharply with rock's aging theatrics. Tracks like NWA's Straight Outta Compton or Tupac's narratives of systemic injustice resonated as genuine articulations of struggle, eclipsing the perceived artifice of rock stars performing rebellion. Hip-hop's rise also mirrored shifting demographics and cultural priorities. Its beats sampled diverse genres, from jazz to electronic, while its lyrical focus on race, inequality, and personal triumph mirrored the lived experiences of marginalized youth. Hip-hop was not only rebellious, it was innovative. It reinvented music production through sampling, DJing, and new lyrical flows. Rappers weren't just musicians, they were storytellers, social commentators, and poets. Unlike rock, which relied heavily on traditional instrumentation, hip-hop embraced technology, sampling jazz, funk, and soul to create something new. It spoke to the disaffected youth in a way rock no longer could. By the 2010s, hip-hop had officially surpassed rock as the most consumed genre in the US. In 2017, streaming data confirmed what was already obvious. Rock had faded from mainstream culture, while hip-hop was the heartbeat of a new generation. With social media, digital production tools, and a global audience, rap became the defining sound of modern music. Rock, on the other hand, struggled to evolve. While it still had a loyal fan base, its mainstream influence waned. The raw energy that once defined it had largely shifted to hip-hop, which now carried the weight of rebellion, innovation, and cultural relevance. Some argue that rock music declined because it sidelined black musicians. Rock itself was born from black music, but by the 1980s, it was seen largely as white music. The foundations of rock and roll trace back to the blues, gospel, and R&B traditions pioneered by black musicians. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and countless other African-American artists shaped the early sound of rock, only for it to be co-opted and repackaged by the British invasion and white rock acts. Even the Rolling Stones, often credited as rock legends, were essentially a blues cover band in their early years. Paul McCartney admitted as much, stating that the Stones were heavily influenced by Black American music. The British invasion helped propel rock onto the global stage, but the genre's origins remained deeply tied to black artistry. The 1960s British invasion saw bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones reinterpret American blues and R&B. While the Beatles leaned into pop melodies, the Stones and the Yardbirds drew deeper from blues legends like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. This era redefined rock's structure, cementing the guitar, drums, bass lineup and self-written songs as standards. The invasion also dethroned earlier American trends like surf rock, shifting focus to bands with gritty, anti-establishment edge. By the late 1960s, rock splintered into soft and hard branches. Soft rock, for example, Fleetwood Mac, emphasized acoustic harmonies, while hard rock's amplified riffs birthed heavy metal. Bands like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath infused mythology and darkness into their sound, cultivating loyal, if niche, followings. The 1980s brought glitzier hard rock acts like Bon Jovi, but also the rise of alternative rock, a backlash against mainstream excess. By the 1990s, Seattle's grunge scene, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, rejected glamour entirely, channeling punk's do-it-yourself ethos and lyrical angst. Yet even grunge's authenticity couldn't reverse rock's waning cultural grip as hip-hop's ascendancy began. Today, rock exists largely as a niche genre, while hip-hop continues to evolve and dominate global culture. Hip-hop's adaptability ensures its relevance. It thrives in an era of digital ephemerality, where viral tracks and streaming algorithms favor immediacy. While rock retains devoted fans, its mainstream inertia contrasts with hip-hop's kinetic evolution, which continues to absorb new influences from trap to Afrobeat. Rock's journey, from black roots to global phenomenon, highlights music's endless metamorphosis. While its mainstream dominance has faded, its legacy persists in hip-hop's beats, electronic music's textures, and the enduring appeal of guitar-driven rebellion. As hip-hop now shapes the cultural vanguard, it carries forward the spirit of innovation that once defined rock itself.